Epilogue. The crystal cradle dominated the center of the plaza, close to the fountain. Inside, Eva Skinner seemed like some sort of post-punk sleeping beauty. Her hair and makeup had been done with such precision. Her blonde hair framed her face, fuchsia surrounded her eyes, and crimson red covered her lips. She was wearing leather bracelets on her wrists and a jacket, both covered with roses whose stems formed electric guitars, the Subdigital's logo. Jeremy removed his gaze from the gleaming crystal and turned towards Ulrich. "What do you think we should do now?" "I don't know. Try to wake her up?" Jeremy sighed. His friend was totally right. They certainly couldn't leave her here, but a part of him wondered what good it would do at the end of the day. For the moment, Eva was safe, peacefully asleep. Once she was awake, what would they do? They couldn't return to the real world unless Hannibal Mago wanted them to, but the boss of the terrorists surely had other things on his mind for the time being, between the army of robots, Xana, and everything else. The boy pressed his hands against the crystal bubble and tried to push it with all his might, but it wouldn't budge. The cradle didn't have a single edge and met in perfect unity with its base, which supported it like the trunk of a tree. Ulrich tried to help him, and they gasped for breath as they worked together for several minutes. We won't get anywhere this way." Jeremy got to his knees, feeling more constrained in his elf tights, and began to study the cradle from all angles. The transparent crystal became more and more opaque as he approached the base, becoming a bluer shade. On one side, the blue crystals were so small that they were nearly invisible at first, and they were in the shape of the eye of Xana. "You told me that Xana made this thing, right?" he asked Jeremy, pointing out the symbol. "It seems that way," mumbled Ulrich. "To be honest, I was a bit confused at the time, so I didn't—" "We'll go with this." Jeremy brushed his fingers against the eye of Xana, then pressed on it forcefully, as if he were pushing a button. He raised his head. The crystal that was protecting Eva Skinner disappeared, falling on the young sleeping girl and gliding over her skin like silver rain. So what are you going to do now, genius?" commented Ulrich, letting out a laugh. "Are you going to see if giving her a kiss works?" "There's no point," responded Jeremy, glowing red. "She's already waking up." The young girl's partly opened mouth trembled, then opened with a yawn. One of her hands closed in a fist, and Eva started to rub her eyes. Another yawn. Jeremy and Ulrich stayed and watched her, amazed as the young girl began to move. A bit later, she opened her eyes and propped herself up on her elbow. Her face, made up like a rock star, had a perplexed and amusing expression. Who are you?" she asked in English. "Huh?" Ulrich asked her at the same time. "She speaks English, right?" Jeremy commented with a smile. "Remember, when she came to France, she was possessed by Xana, so she shouldn't remember anything, not even our language." Hello," the boy began, trying to recall his best English. "My name is Jeremy, and this is my friend Ulrich." Eva placed a hand to her head, confused. "Where am I? I was attending a Subdigital concert, but I don't remember anything else. I must have been dreaming." Jeremy turned towards Ulrich. "She says that she remembers going to a concert," he translated, "then nothing. She believes that she must have dreamt everything." "Ah, perfect," commented Ulrich. "It's better that way, I think. Except, now what?" "Now we tell her the truth," he answered next. "We need to start somewhere." Jeremy sat cross-legged on the pavement of the plaza. He thought about this poor girl, suddenly waking up in an unknown world, in front of an elf and a samurai. She must be scared. He tried to calm her down with a gentle smile. Then, in English again, he started to tell her everything. Alita huddled under the shades of her father's enormous bed in the hermitage. She was all alone. Xana had disappeared several hours earlier, and she had wandered all throughout the mirror, searching through and completely reliving all the chapters of the journal. She had eventually lost hope, pressed the free exploration button on the box, and returned home to the hermitage to rest. But now, she wasn't able to get to sleep. Everything was boiling up inside her like the water in a pressure cooker. Professor Hopper was a scientist, and he did nothing without a reason. So why had he orchestrated this whole labyrinth, track after track, that brought her nowhere? He wanted to help her understand it all, so that she would do something? But what? She hadn't the slightest clue. Furthermore, there was an event that she still found unexplainable. Alita saw herself speaking with her father, allowing him to help her. Then, later on, when she was on the couch with a high fever, not too long before the men in black attacked the house, he said that he had never used the memory snatching machine the other way around. This was what was making Alita feel so terrible. It was because of the memory snatching device that her father had invented. Had he used it on her to erase a memory that was too dangerous, or maybe the opposite, to introduce her to new memories? "If that's what you did," murmured the girl, "your plan didn't work, Daddy. I don't remember anything." She sometimes got the impression that her brain was divided into two, and that one of the parts was as impregnable and inaccessible as a strongbox. Ever since Jeremy had woken her up from her slumber on Lyoko, Alita had been the victim of constant amnesia attacks. Her memory slipped through her fingers like water. The young girl continued to turn in bed. Her father's room was submerged in darkness, the windows open to let in the stuffy summer night breeze. Alita was 10 years away from her friends and the real world. What were Jeremy and the others doing right now? It had already been several hours since they last communicated with her. Something must have happened to them, and she felt trapped inside a virtual prison. But she had to have faith. One way or another, everything would end well. The young girl curled up in a fetal position, her hands up against her face. Then her fingers slid to the front of her neck, curling around the necklace she was wearing. She caressed the end of the golden necklace with her fingers, feeling the contour of the letters. W and A, Waldo and Anthea. "Mommy," she thought to herself, "you'll see. I'll manage to find you one way or another, and we'll be together again, and we'll become a family again." On this thought, she finally managed to find her way to sleep. Yumi's face was illuminated by the small candle that Odd had lit on the ground of the room, midway between his bed and Ulrich's empty bed. Outside, the night was dark and silent. It was at least 4 a.m. Inside the room, the small flames seemed to decrease the already very small amount of space that separated the two children, raising a small barrier between them and the rest of the world. They were covered by a pair of large sheets, their heads filled with thoughts and their eyes besieged by wrinkles from lack of sleep. When cutting the electricity, Odd had also cut off the circuit controlling the thermostat for the boiler room. And now it was terribly cold all throughout Caddick. Instead of returning to their rooms, almost all the students had chosen to sleep together in the science lab, between mountains of clothes and warm blankets gathered up from here and there. Professor Hertz and the rest of the adults again took guard duty shifts, in case the Green Phoenix decided to attack again. And then there were the two of them, Yumi and Odd, alone in the deserted dorms, thinking to themselves. "Do you think the others are doing all right?" wondered Yumi. She said the others, but in reality she wanted to say Ulrich. As far as Odd could recall, these two had never been apart for so long. The boy tried to smile. "Of course! I'm sure they're doing great!" he then exclaimed. "I'm sure they're having less problems than we are with all these crazy robots and whatnot." "Yes, but," she contradicted him, "Xana and the Green Phoenix are holding them prisoner in the virtual worlds." Odd stretched a hand out from under the covers and tightly grasped the young girl's hand in his. "We're going to get them out of there, Yumi," he encouraged her. "I give you my word." "Uh-huh," commented Yumi, raising an eyebrow sarcastically. "And how are we going to do that, exactly?" Odd threw his arms out wide, causing the covers to fall to the floor. "You can be sure we'll find a way, and I'd bet anything that Jeremy's already got a plan all laid out and a way to get us his instructions. You know how he is. He's stubborn and he's always got a plan when we need one, not to mention even when we don't need one." "Well," said Yumi with a weak smile, "we haven't had too much trouble handling things either up till now." "That's right. Let's just get it out there. We were geniuses. The idea to cut the electricity was, quite frankly, brilliant. We had them running off with their tails between their legs." Silence fell between the two children again. They had a bunch of problems to face. Jeremy's kidnapping, Ulrich and Eva stuck in the first city, Alita trapped in the mirror, and the Green Phoenix, and the Men in Black, and, above all else, Xana. How would they manage to stop them? They were only kids. But, for whatever reason, Odd still felt full of confidence. He rose with a feline jump and snatched up the candle, approaching the closed window. The glass was frozen, and the tips of the trees swayed outside with the turbulent motion of the wind. He didn't feel any envy at all for the adults that were out there on guard duty. "You know what, my friend?" He began to speak again, placing his hands on his hips. "We were sensational. Okay, maybe we didn't win the war, but the battle tonight was a triumph. The Grand Battle of Caddick will forever remain a part of the history of this school. They will sing its name and remember it forever and ever." As always, he was exaggerating. He thought that maybe it'd be better if he left off there. The boy turned to Yumi and returned to her side, squatting to look her in the eyes. "We still have a lot of mysteries to solve, but I'm sure that we'll soon find a way to reunite the group. We'll get the bad guys, and we'll make everything go back to normal. We're the Lyoko Warriors, after all. Our mission has always been to save the world, right?" "Thanks, Odd," Yumi said to him with a warm smile. "Hey, no need for that," avoided Odd, embarrassed. "I'm the group idiot, remember? Don't be so serious. It's confusing for me." Okay, said Yumi with a small laugh. "But thanks all the same." Odd leaned towards the young girl, the flame of the candle a few centimeters from his face. "Let's go to the laboratory with the others," he whispered. "It's too cold to sleep here." And he blew out the candle with a single breath.